Yeah, hey, this shit easy, nigga. Hey, all I'm talking about, nigga, I'm still out here trying to get it.
Contender Regime Boxing, checking back in with y'all, man. What's good? So I was checking out this interview that Max Kellerman did with Tim Bradley, and they were basically talking about, you know, the Errol Spence Jr. and Yordenis Ugas upcoming unification match. 3 titles on the line, a WBC, IBF, and a WBA super title. And, you know, Max Kellerman was basically asking Tim Bradley what he thought about that fight. How did he think it was going to plan out? Just generally what he thought about the matchup. Just wanted him to break it down. And immediately Tim Bradley come out, you know, spewing his usual, you know, per usual hate and jealousy at Errol Spence, you know, saying that Errol Spence, you know, first thing he say, oh, Errol Spence is, I think he running from Terence Crawford, because Max Kellerman had paid Errol Spence a compliment. He said, I think Errol Spence is one of those, you know, super talented, you know, elite guys in the sport. And, you know, Tim Bradley like, yeah, I think he's that too, but I still think he's running from Terence Crawford. You dig what I'm saying? So, you know, it's crazy that people still running with that notion with Errol Spence unifying with Yordenis Ugas, a very tough competitor. Very tough welterweight. Tough for anybody to beat. Check that man's resume. You know, I done already broke that fight down. Probably better than anybody that done talked about that fight on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? I probably gave you the best evaluation of Yordenis Ugas that you probably got on YouTube. Period. You know what I'm saying? So I know what Ugas bring to the table. Errol Spence know what Ugas bring to the table. And the motherfuckers that really be paying attention, y'all know how tough Yordenis Ugas is for anybody. You know, with that being said, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy that people still running with that notion. And shout out to the brother Black Fight Fan on Trill Boxing TV on their show today. He actually alluded to something that was interesting as well. He made an interesting point where he was like, you know, Errol Spence wants that Terence Crawford fight. And not only that, Yordenis Ugas want that Terence Crawford fight. Both of these guys want smoke with Terence Crawford. I think, you know, some people feel like this stylistically, some people feel like this Ugas fight might be tougher for Errol Spence than the Terence Crawford fight. A lot of people feel like Yordenis Ugas can beat Terence Crawford. You know what I'm saying? Already beat him in the amateurs. He already feels confident that he can beat Terence Crawford. Yordenis Ugas feels very confident within himself that he's a better fighter. If you listen, if you watch and pay attention every time somebody bring up, you know, Errol Spence ducking Terence Crawford to fight in a unification versus Ugas, Ugas takes so much, he take that as highly disrespectful. He takes that as extremely disrespectful. He ain't just sitting back on the sideline like, you know, yeah, you know what, they right. You know what I'm saying? No, he like, fuck y'all talking about. I'm a real motherfucker. Like, I deserve to be here. I just beat Manny Pacquiao. I deserve to be here. I got as good as any win that Terence Crawford has at welterweight right now. Yordenis Ugas' win over Manny Pacquiao is as good, or if not better, than any win Terence Crawford got in his whole career, let alone just at welterweight. You dig what I'm saying? So Ugas takes that with so much disrespect. Like, I deserve to be here. And y'all think this shit gonna be easy versus Errol, and it's not. It could be. You know, Errol, he's that type of fighter. So you really never know how it's gonna play out. But it's gonna be, I think, me personally, I think this shit is gonna be very difficult for both guys. I just think stylistically and just skillfully, everything that these dudes bring to the table, man, this shit gonna be a very competitive fight. It can go a few different ways, and you know, we spoke about that already. But my point is that Yordenis Ugas isn't afraid of Errol Spence or Terence Crawford, and we damn well know Errol Spence ain't afraid of no damn Terence Crawford. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, when you look at this shit, Errol Spence himself, he wants this fight versus Terence Crawford. That's why he going the route that he's going to get these belts. And he want to fight Terence Crawford for undisputed with everything on the line. That's something that he wants to do personally. PBC might have different plans on what they wanted, where you want to get these belts and become unified. Cool. You know what I'm saying? Everybody talking about, you know, Keith Thurman might be a title eliminator or something like that. Like I told y'all, if Errol Spence want to fight Terence Crawford after this Ugas fight, and Terence Crawford is willing to accept whatever the terms is, and they both agree, the fight will happen. And I'm going to tell you like this. I think the same thing would happen if Yordenis Ugas win. Both of these guys want to fight Terence Crawford. Yordenis Ugas has been hell-bent on wanting to fight the best. He's finally getting his opportunity versus the best in the division. Just beat Manny Pacquiao as an underdog. Now he's going in there. He could become the first Cuban ever to hold 3 titles. You know what I'm saying? This man really chasing his dream. You feel me? He really want to prove that he the best. He really want to be unified and undisputed. The same thing with Errol Spence. We already know Errol Spence is on the road to undisputed. Errol Spence is chasing undisputed. He told y'all before in the interview, he said, how can I be running from Terence Crawford if I'm fighting in a unification match? He said, my goal is to be undisputed. And in order for me to do that, after I take this belt, I got to go take Terence Crawford belt. And I'm going to go do that. And I feel like Yordenis Ugas coming with that same pressure. I think both of these guys are extremely confident that they could beat Terence Crawford. Now, whether that's going to happen, we'll see how it play out when the fights actually happen. You dig what I'm saying? But I think both Errol Spence and Yordenis Ugas are very difficult matchups for Terence Crawford. Is he capable of winning both of those fights? Yes, because Terence Crawford is a great fighter. But I think Errol Spence is a better, just me personally, I think Errol Spence is a better fighter, but he's a great fighter, and we'll see who's better once they actually fight. But I think Yordenis Ugas is an elite welterweight, and he brings a lot of challenges to the table stylistically for anybody. You look at his size, the counterpunching ability. You know, you look at how technical he is, the different variations of the right hand. We talked about this. Very skilled and cerebral fighter. You know what I'm saying? And when he get in there, he can do damage. And also, Yordenis Ugas knows that Terence Crawford is predominantly a southpaw. And Yordenis Ugas specializes in fighting southpaws. I just saw that Ugas will be training with Errol Lara in preparation for this Errol Spence fight. You know, he got a fellow Cuban who is one of the better fighters that you've seen. One of the most skilled fighters that you probably see in Errol Lara when it comes just technical fundamental boxing skills. A great southpaw. He got guys like that he can, you know, pull into his camp and sharpen up with. That's pedigree. You dig what I'm saying? So this dude is very confident when it comes to fighting the best, and then in particularly southpaws like Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. You know what I'm saying? So I'm telling you, both of these dudes won't smoke with Terence Crawford, and the winner of this fight, if Terence Crawford is there and willing to make this fight happen, ain't nothing gonna be able to stand in the way. Both of these guys won't smoke with Terence Crawford. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments. How did y'all feel about that interview with Tim Bradley and Max Kellerman? You know what I'm saying? You see the obvious disdain that Tim Bradley has for Errol Spence. You know what I mean? And anybody outside of ESPN and Bob Arum stable. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments, man. Contender regime boxing. I'll holler at y'all boys, man.